Still a police box. Why hasn't it changed? Dear, dear. How very disturbing.
Nerdrotic.com.
Back from vacation, and I can hear you ask, what kind of a jackass takes vacations in times like these? This jackass. And since then, everything has been canceled, including half of the CW, no, not the shows, just the actors, the police, and any show related to the police, including trying to cancel Paw Patrol, canceling Cops, one of the longest running shows here in America and the most popular in prison, and Live PD just a couple of days ago. So we have to ask the question, how does this relate to Doctor Who? Well, it's only a matter of time because there's something very problematic with the Tardis. It's a police box. Before we get started talking about some Doctor Who news you have heard, some Doctor Who news you might not have heard, and a potential problem with a certain blue box, I would like to ask you to please make sure you are still subscribed to the channel if you've come across this video, and make sure your notification bell is set. I'm hearing every day that people are not getting notifications. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. We need you now more than ever. Liking and sharing the videos helps as well. Everything you guys do, we appreciate, especially those of us who like to speak freely on this platform and do not bend the knee to political correctness. I thank you all for your continued support. And yes, in some cases, people were literally bending the knee. That's why I am genuinely surprised nobody has come after the police box yet. This is why I'm genuinely surprised the BBC hasn't come after the police box yet. I know some of you might be upset that I'm addressing this subject at all. Don't give the BBC any ideas. Well, believe it or not, I don't want to do damage to Doctor Who. The whole point of every single one of my videos was for them to do less damage to Doctor Who. There is no damage I can do to Doctor Who that's any worse than what Chris Chibnall has already done, or the first female doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, who we will lovingly call Dr. Karen, has already done. But stay with me on this one, because this could be a bad news, good news, bad news situation that might work out the best for everyone in the worst possible way. I know that doesn't make very much sense, but it should by the end of the video, but I can't promise that. Now, I haven't done a deep dive on Twitter to see if anybody else has approached this subject, and I can't go to the Doctor Who forums anymore because I find them nauseating, but I did discuss it in a live stream about a week ago. Link will be in the description, and I did talk about it with a couple of other YouTubers who believe it's inevitable as well, and it's easy to change. Just imagine your average chibi first female doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, who we will lovingly call Dr. Karen episode, with Yaz sitting somewhere. Remember, Ryan and Graham will be gone, and she'll be preaching to her about the evils of the police and how she wants to remove it from the police box, and you can call it the love box or the scissoring box or whatever you want to fill in the comment sections below. Or better yet, the much better, much smarter first female doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, who we will lovingly call Dr. Karen, fixes the chameleon circuit. And that's where it becomes good news, because the only thing recognizable in Chris Chibnall's Doctor Who with the first female doctor played by Jodie Whittaker, who we will lovingly call Dr. Karen, is the police box. And if you remove that, it doesn't look like Doctor Who at all. And I believe this is a possibility, because when you bend the knee to political correctness and the rage mob on Twitter, they never relent. And removing the word police wouldn't be enough, because it's the color blue and it's still a representation of a police box. So it would have to be eradicated, erased. Why do you think they rewrote the entire history of Doctor Who? Do you think that was based on telling a good story? No, it was making the show more adaptable to the BBC's modern audiences. Let's keep in mind, William Hartnell is no longer the first Doctor. There are no longer any numbered Doctors. The Doctor is no longer a Time Lord, and maybe, just maybe, it doesn't end there. Former Doctor Who showrunner changes regeneration rules from the Shiltastic Screen Rant. Former Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies has extended the Doctor's regeneration powers again, a more dramatic change than the Timeless Child, or was it? Former Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies has just changed the regeneration rules again, and this time it's an even bigger change than the Timeless Child. Current Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall had promised Doctor Who Season 12 would make drastic and lasting changes to the show's lore and completely destroy it, which it did, and he was right, he certainly was. As the season finale revealed, the Doctor is no Time Lord at all. After initially being pissed off when I read this article, I gave it some thought, listened to a few people, and it is most definitely a troll from Russell T Davies, and good on him. A billion years ago, a Gallifreyan explorer named Tecteun discovered an abandoned child on a distant world near a mysterious boundary to another universe or dimension. She adopted the young girl and then promptly killed her over and over again. Oh, I'm sorry, we haven't gotten to that yet. But sometime later, tragedy struck. Tecteun let her play with a boy, and the boy threw her off a cliff. The child fell from a great height, a fall that should have killed her. Instead, she regenerated. And doesn't that look like the most peaceful girl falling to her death? You know, she still feels the pain. The first regeneration on Gallifrey, called the Timeless Child. This being became the base genetic code for the entire Time Lord race, so they could appropriate the young girl, so we could properly get our point through. Unlike the Time Lords, however, the Timeless Child has an unlimited number of regenerations. It's a massive retcon, rewriting everything viewers knew about the Doctor's history and identity, and completely undoing the show. And it was as much of a surprise for the Doctor as for longtime Doctor Who fans. And notice they don't mention any of the backlash, which was the vast majority of fans in this case. The Doctor's memory had been erased, but the Master discovered the truth while raiding the Matrix and delighted in taunting the Doctor with his revelation. Ooh, revelation. What's that another title of? Oh, think about that, Masters of the Universe fans. I wonder what the revelation's gonna be. Now, former Doctor Who showrunner Russell T Davies has retconned the Doctor's regenerative powers once again in a new animated short featuring David Tennant. Et tu, David? The video stars Anna Hope, reprising her role as Novus Haim, one of the cat nurses who appeared during the Tennant era. Novus Haim is dying of old age, expecting one last visit from the Doctor.
And then, out of the silence and the darkness, he comes. He says,
"Hello."
He hasn't changed at all. I've heard so many stories about him over the years. His hundreds of faces and forms, the men and women and animals who have taken that name. The men and women and animals.
Remember? I know what you get. You're a damn preterist. All right, just get the hell out of here, huh? I got a goddamn campaign.
I'd like to think RTD was just clowning Chibi with this decision, but who really knows? And look at how far the BBC has gone to bend the knee to PC culture. All they've done is broken the show. So go ahead and break out your little BBC erasers and erase the word police from every frame. You can see it on every single episode. Or better yet, just erase the Tardis. Or better yet, just cancel the show, because that'll cure racism. Unfortunately for the BBC, most of the audience has already canceled the show. It's a beautiful animated short written by Russell T Davies himself, with art by Wanamo and haunting music by celebrated Doctor Who composer Murray Gold. Hail Murray Gold. In universe, it seems the Doctor's visit to Novus Haim is part of Tennant's farewell tour from the end of time, part 2. You know, it's just sad at this point how hard the shill access media is trying to help the establishment BBC spin the narrative that fans are okay with what has happened with Doctor Who. The Chibnall era has expanded Doctor Who's mythology in unexpected ways. Chibnall has retconned the Doctor's regenerative abilities, and he's introduced Jodie Whittaker as the first female Doctor and Joe Martin as the first Black Doctor. How about the first of a new character that helped expand this franchise in new and different ways? Amusingly though, Russell T Davies has just gone one step further, revealing the Doctor doesn't even have to look like a human. It almost feels like a competition, or a troll, to come up with the most regenerative retcon. And Chibnall's Doctor Who Season 13 may offer the next one. Oh, it might. And the rest is Access Media gobbledygook word salad, like most of this article is. And this is how we rewrite 50 plus years of canon of Doctor Who, almost 60 years, with voiceover montages and motion comics. So am I giving the BBC any ideas they haven't already thought of, bringing up the problematic police box? No, of course they've already thought of it. Look, they've already removed Little Britain from ITV, a show I admittedly have not watched. They removed an episode of Faulty Towers. It's only a matter of time until they come after Monty Python, and it's only a matter of time until they come after Doctor Who, The Talons of Wang Chang, and certain problematic moments within the show, and it will never, ever stop. So at this point, you might as well cancel the show because it's inevitable. The fans aren't coming back. Even if you completely retcon the events of the Timeless Children, that is still years away. The damage is already done. And this incredibly shrinking audience is most definitely split. And whose fault is that?
Spoilers.
The fans don't write these episodes. The fans don't make casting decisions. The fans don't make deliberate decisions to alienate half the audience. We have recently had Michael Chabon come out and say that he deliberately wrote in some things in Star Trek Picard to antagonize portions of the audience. And I have no doubt the same thing is done with Doctor Who. And unfortunately, that's another thing Doctor Who has in common with Star Trek. A show that used to be a force for good, a show that used to be for everyone, is now a tool for division. Chris Chibnall has said that modern Doctor Who has been made to create conversations, to make people think. Well, maybe it's time the decision makers at the BBC and Chris Chibnall think about what made Doctor Who popular for so long and why it isn't anymore. Now, I've been sitting on a lot of interesting rumors, and that will be my next Doctor Who video. I'll just say that big savior, HBO Max, well, they're owned by AT&T, who is currently $200 billion in debt. And while the tossers behind the scenes at Doctor Who and at the BBC like to flaunt their moral superiority, let's not forget who they do business with. Again, I am surprised nobody's approached the subject of that problematic word police on the Tardis. I'm sure it's just a matter of time. And yes, I do realize this is just a science fiction TV show and there are much bigger things going on in the world right now. But I've always been talking about the bigger picture as it relates to Doctor Who, a show that for over 5 decades has been a unifying force in fandom and no longer is. But hey, the Doctor can regenerate into a doggo now, but maybe it's time we put that doggo down. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long, and I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.